Welcome to the group exhibit Hydrogen Fuel Cells and Batteries. Welcome to the 20 years anniversary of this group exhibition. We are celebrating this year with you with 158 exhibitors from 22 different countries. So I invite you all to have a seat, get comfortable and enjoy the discussion. The discussion will be about the hydrogen transport economy and especially about the skills development in the North Sea region. For that, I welcome here. Please welcome him with me, Dr. Colin Herron from Gateshead College, representing HyTrEc here. Thank you, Colin.
Hello.
Hello. So first of all, to get started, let's hear a bit, who is HyTrEc? Do you have any products? Do you do any research? What do you exactly do?
HyTrEc is actually an HyTrEc project in the North Sea region. We're on B36, just down the road. What we're looking at is policy and how to introduce hydrogen, transport the hydrogen economy into the North Sea region and the skills which support it. So we don't make anything.
So you don't make anything. Now, you focus on the hydrogen, and now when I hear hydrogen, and I'm sure many people do, they still think, they fear hydrogen.
Yes. What we're trying to do is learn from the introduction of electric vehicles. One of the things we learned on electric vehicles was a lot of misunderstanding about what the vehicle is, what the vehicle can do. And there's a lot of misunderstanding of hydrogen. What it is it safe? Can we have it in the street? Can we have it in the towns? So this is actually a big problem.
Now, how is HyTrEc contributing to the development for, let's say, hydrogen and fuel cell market?
What we are trying to do is to work with the Commission for policy, but the other thing we're doing with training, specifically the training, is to focus on the people who have to work with hydrogen. So the key thing for us is we are not looking at university research, we're looking at all the people who have to look after hydrogen when it is actually on the street.
So we're talking about infrastructure here?
Yes.
Maintenance infrastructure. Can you give an example?
Well, one of the things that seems to get forgotten is when we have a hydrogen filling station or we have a hydrogen bus, if there is a problem with that, somebody has to repair it. So somebody actually has to go out and install, has to do the repairs. This is sometimes forgotten. Another thing is, what happens, for instance, if there's an accident with the vehicle and the emergency services has to attend? Who trains the emergency services? It's a big question, but it's forgotten in many, many cities.
Do you do any testings?
We do testing with the fire service and people, because they ask the question, what do they do? What is the priority? And the other thing we have to train is we start to train all the people who have to do the work, who have to actually go out and install the equipment.
So basically you're collecting knowledge and also doing research and then distributing your knowledge. How will you give your knowledge to partners, and what partners do you have?
Yeah. One of the things we have to do is to find the people who are making the equipment, who are making the vehicles. We have to go and work with them and ask them the question, what is the key thing that we have to understand? What are the key safety features? And this also moves into the house. So if somebody is parking a hydrogen vehicle in a garage, what is the ventilation rules? What is the specifications for this? What does it mean for people building houses of the future? Do they have to do something special for the house? These things are all potentially missed. So this is the work we have to do. So what we have done is we've created a forum, a HyTrEc forum for education, and we ask people to link with us and discuss these matters so that they are prepared for it. And once we've developed it in the North Sea region, the courses and the training will be available right across Europe. In fact, across the world, we are in contact a lot with California.
So you're kind of filling a gap here.
We think there's a huge gap. There is a lot of work in companies and universities, but we don't see the training for the thousands of technicians, the people who have to deal with the actual hardware in the vehicles. Yes.
Now the field you are in is really broad. Do you focus on anything in particular?
Well, what we are trying to do, skill-wise, is what we call level 0. Level 0, for those who can remember it, is the Hindenburg effect. People are frightened of hydrogen. So what we have to do is introduce basic knowledge to thousands of people that hydrogen is like any other gas. It's safe if you look after it. The next level we move to is an awareness, the basic chemistry for people. Then level 2, we move into the installation, how to work with hydrogen, how to put equipment in. Then when you go to level 3, it's diagnosis and analysis. What do you do when something goes wrong? Recently I spoke to some people who had a bus, hydrogen buses, but for training they have to send people to Canada. That's crazy. If you have a piece of equipment breaks, you don't want to wait 2 days for somebody to be flown across the world to repair it.
Okay. When will you see a huge demand for what you do right now? When will you see, can you name a year where things will change and then your knowledge is needed and your training is needed?
Yeah. Actually, it started now. People think hydrogen is something which is coming in the future. Already in London, there is normal bus routes. In Antwerp, around Europe, there are actually vehicles on the road. The training need is now, and we are working with people for the training. But what we see is the car makers have all said 2015, 2016 is when they will start producing passenger cars. So we are seeing buses already on the road. We are seeing them needing repair. We are seeing fuel stations going in now. So now is the time to write the training courses. Because when EV arrived in Europe, the cars came first, then we thought about the training. So through the HyTrEc project, we're trying to think about the training before the vehicles arrive.
At this point, I would like to ask the audience if there's any questions so far. Okay, that is not the case. Now let's talk about some facts. So if we talk about training, then in my mind, I only hear cost, cost, cost. So how is it? How do you work with, let's say, money-wise? Who's paying for what for the knowledge?
In each country, different governments sponsor or support training. But what we've actually found is most people are quite happy to pay for the training if the training is what they want, it is delivered at their workplace, and it is of a good quality. So in some cases it's government funded, in a lot of cases it's just private business will pay. But what we are also trying to do, and this is very important, is we have many people across Europe who are being trained as technicians who want a job. If these people can leave their training hydrogen ready, it gives them a start in life. Because what we often do is we train people in the standard vehicle technologies, they go to get a job, and then we have to retrain them, which is crazy because we know this is coming, so we should be ready.
Is HyTrEc the only institution, company doing the training right now, or do you have any, let's say, competitors around the globe?
We don't know of competitors. We know of other skills projects in hydrogen who we're working with across Europe. But as I said at the start, most people focus on the university and degree training. And that is not what we are looking at. So we are happy to work with other colleges, but not universities. We ask universities for the top level knowledge to write the courses.
Okay, so I have another question. Do you, when you have your knowledge, do you have any data analysis, diagnosis that you collect, and how are you distributing it?
At the moment, unfortunately, there's not enough data to be collected. If we go back to the EV knowledge, we are already monitoring every single charger. My little group helped put quick chargers and electric infrastructure, and we got the information. At the moment, we don't know about the reliability of equipment. So we have to put lots of fueling stations in, then we have to measure reliability. We don't know reliability of vehicles yet. So one of the things that will be started is monitoring of the equipment. And once we monitor and we know the faults and the fault codes, then we can build it into the training packages.
HyTrEc is right now only active in the North Sea region.
Yes.
Is there a reason for it?
The reason we are active in the North Sea region is purely because HyTrEc is split into regions for funding, Atlantic region, North Sea region. And we managed to get a group of partners in the North Sea region, Sweden, Denmark, Flanders, Germany, Scotland, England, and they fall in the North Sea funding region. So the only reason it's called the North Sea project is because we're in the North Sea region. But it's actually for all of Europe, so everybody can access the material.
Is HyTrEc doing anything besides the skills development?
We're looking very much at policy, and we are working in putting vehicles on the road and filling stations on the road, so yes.
Professor Colin, Dr. Colin, you have been in the automotive industry for more than 40 years, about 30.
Unfortunately, 40 years, yeah.
Do you see a trend where it's going to?
We had a little discussion before this. I've spent 40 years in automotive, and quite frankly, the first 37 years were boring. It's only got interesting now, because for the last 37 years, it was diesel, petrol, diesel, or gasoline, and the only difference was with an airbag or without an airbag or a CD player or sat-nav. Now it's completely open. No technology will win, all technologies will be involved, but because we have hydrogen, electric, hybrid, diesel hydrogen, petrol EV, hydrogen EV, the skills that are required not only to build these vehicles, but to maintain these vehicles is enormous. And the car companies will not do the training. They will train their own people, but they will not train the thousands of people who need this. That's why now is really exciting. Unfortunately, it's come almost too late for my career.
In the year of 2015, Japan and Nissan will launch some new type of vehicle.
Yeah.
How will you react to that?
In Japan, they've all said 2015. Nissan's now said 2017. Korea is now producing the Hyundai. They're very aggressive in hydrogen. So I say after 2015, more vehicles appearing. But we all have the same problem. The vehicles will come without the fueling stations. We can't justify the fueling stations without the vehicles. It always works that way. It happened with electric. So the big problem is, who will finance the fueling stations for the vehicles to come? Because the car companies won't. So it's the chicken and egg scenario. But what I want to be aware of is the technology, so we are ready for it. So no matter who funds it or where the money comes from, we are ready and we have the technology to look after the infrastructure.
Thank you. Is there any question at this time? Okay, I will come down to you.
Thank you very much. It's very interesting scenario for hydrogen as a fuel. Professor, I just want to know that how do you see the economics of this transport in the coming years? You know, at the moment I understand it is expensive.
Yes.
But do you think it will come down at a level like diesel, petrol, and this in about 10 years or so?
Could I make one comment on the hydrogen economy, which might be controversial? People see EV or hydrogen. I don't think this will ever happen. And I don't think in a single country everybody will go hydrogen. So in my country, in England, we have areas that have a lot of hydrogen. My region in the northeast of England produces 50% of the UK hydrogen. That is perfect for a hydrogen economy. And I think transport, public transport, buses will run off hydrogen because they make it and it will be cheap. Other parts of the UK, to transport the hydrogen to that part of the UK is simply not cost effective. And generating enough green hydrogen in a region with no hydrogen just to run transport is a problem. So my answer to your question is, in some places it will always be too expensive for hydrogen. In some places it will be natural to have hydrogen. And if it is a waste product in those regions, it is ideal for public transport. I think below SUV vehicle, it will be very, very difficult for many, many years to be cost effective. And I think the car companies have to reduce their demand from 99.999% pure. Otherwise, they will never hit the price.
This storage of hydrogen is perhaps one of the issue. Do you think that it could be liquefied and in a less space or something like that for usage in the vehicle?
The forms that we have is liquefied, which can be transported. Some people want to dissolve it in a carrier like toluene. And I think it completely depends. In London at the moment, for their buses, they bring liquid hydrogen on a barge from the Netherlands. That's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Because what about the emissions from the barge, etc.? So the transport of the hydrogen is a bigger problem, I think, than the price of the fuel cell. Because it's not solved.
At this time, I have to apologize to the audience. We are unfortunately running out of time. That was a really interesting talk, and the topic is still interesting because it's such a current topic. So I highly recommend to visit Dr. Colin Herron from HyTrEc at booth B36. Exactly, just B36. There. It's just at the end. So thank you very much, and
Pleasure.
big applause. Thank you. It's a really good talk.